So it's so nice to be here, recording in progress. I am beside myself to share with you that Mallori DeSalle is going to lead us through this fantastic, quiet and reserved coffee hour. I'm lying right to you. Laugh, listen, learn, using humor for creative engagement. We are going to have so much fun from the Oreo queen herself. And I am just gonna let her do all of the talking now. Take it away, Mallori.
Woohoo! Yay! Woohoo! Well, thank you very much. But point of clarification here, I do not plan on doing all of the talking. I, in fact, hope to have all of you help do all of the talking. So very excited to share the floor with all of you and have some coffee talk about how we can use humor to get our brains, our bodies, our hearts in that creative engagement space. So to get rolling, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. And to do that, I'm going to share a video. And the sound on the video is a little bit soft. So I invite you to have your button on the volume so that you can turn it up. So I'm just going to introduce myself via video. Here we go.
Mallori DeSalle is a lifetime learner and listener. Reminded by her mom when she was a child that we only have one mouth but two ears, Mallori has used her ears to listen better her whole life. When asked about her excellence in listening, she said, "What was that?" And listen to this. Mallori's proudest accomplishment so far has been tasting nearly 100 Oreos from across the globe. Mallori says, "I don't judge a cookie by the outside. It's really what's on the inside that counts." Often integrating humor into counseling, training, and conversations about change, Mallori hopes to inspire people to be creative, curious, and kind. Mallori Milk and Cookies DeSalle is always ready to laugh, learn, and listen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please put down your cookies and welcome Mallori DeSalle.
And the crowd's on mute. Thank you. Thank you for the sound of applause through your beautiful
Mallori
fingers.
DeSalle.
So we are going to get started with our first coffee talk by talking about the last time you had a really good belly laugh. And we're going to go into some breakout rooms. So our wonderful Beth, our wonderful Joelle, our wing and our support are going to invite you into some breakout rooms of 5 to 6 people. And in those breakout rooms, I'm going to invite you to introduce yourself. And I want you to, if you know any, share a joke. You could even do what I need to do sometimes, Google it. And then I want you to talk about how this has you feeling, how you feel when you have a really good belly laugh, or how does it feel when you're telling the jokes? So having a little bit of fun introducing yourself, telling a few jokes, and talking about how you feel. We are going to spend about 10 minutes in this breakout room. So plenty of time for you to get to know one another, talk amongst yourselves, and have a few laughs. So I want to pause and see what questions you have, but also point out that our wonderful wing, Joelle, has put those directions in the chat box. So just checking for understanding. Nobody has looked at me like, "Stop, I have a flat tire." Okay, you're good. So I am going to stop my sharing. All right, well, whenever my team is ready to invite you into a breakout room.
Breakout rooms happening now. Bye, bye. Mallori, everybody's back.
Woohoo! All right, so I hope that you had fun talking about who you are, what jokes you know, and to get a little bit of conversation going, I want to invite you all to give a look at the jam board that we put in the chat box. And Joelle, if you, oh, even more time, I love that. Don't worry, you're going to go back into this breakout room after a while. So for those of you that are like, more time, like more cowbell, don't worry, it's coming for you. 2.0 breakout room. So Joelle, if you don't mind putting the Jamboard in the chat box one more time, I am going to invite everyone to give this a go. And the way Jamboards work is you click on that link and it's going to open up a whole new screen. I'm going to share it just in case. If Jamboards get a little bit kind of overwhelming for you, don't worry about that either. You can just type things into the chat box, and then our support team from CPSI will type it in for you. But go ahead and put, what are your reactions onto the Jamboard? How did this feel for you? What things came up? How did you feel? And to type on there, you just use the thing that says T. You click on that and then you start typing away. Or you can do any of those options. That's what I love about CPSI. You get to be creative here. It's like the expectation. What? Ooh, some pictures. So much fun. So much fun. I'm just going to move around some of these so we can see them all anywhere you want.
While you're doing that, I do want to share, just because you brought it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't remember exactly who, but somebody at CPSI last year was sharing that she was in the SNL audience for the More Cowbell. Right?
Oh my gosh.
I feel like
that makes me want to go out and get a mullet. I mean, 100%.
Oh, Martina, it was you. She's here with us.
Martina, we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
I mean, I don't know. I was at the right place at the right time. I got tickets. It was.
No, stop. More cowbell. More, I mean.
So Martina has been in More Cowbell and virtual CPSI, like basically.
I mean.
I can die now.
Yeah, completely self-actualized. You're good.
Maslow, what?
Oh my gosh. So we have some great reactions coming in over here. I see emojis. I see comic relief. I see people saying it was great to remind yourself about jokes. Belly laughs are the best. Great to feel that collectivity, which I haven't used that word in a long time. So thank you to whomever typed that word in. Just happiness. 6 degrees of separation, which tells us again that there are some amazing things happening in these groups. And I want you to keep going with the Jamboard. Let's keep building some of these reactions in there. And I'm going to, at the same time, stop sharing that screen so we can see your gorgeous faces. And I'm going to invite everyone who can to turn it on to gallery view so we can see everyone's smile here. And I want to invite you to either type share in the chat box to let me know you'd like to share, or to like raise your hand super big, goes off the screen even, so that I can see that you want to talk. And I'll try and invite you to unmute yourself because we'd love to hear a little bit more about your reactions. You've gotten to type them. And for those of you that are the extroverts of the world, you want to also vocalize them. So I invite you to do that. And while you're listening to these reactions, I also want to invite you to do what I did, which is change your name by adding on the back end your favorite laugh sound. Mine is the snort laugh. So if you would like to share, you can type share into the chat box, raise your hand. How was this breakout room for you? Is anyone timing this? It is the quietest I've ever heard a CPSI group. Did we set a record?
All of the thinking.
Renee, I see your hand is raised. Love to hear from you.
There it is. I couldn't see my mute button for some reason. Okay. I really appreciated being able to share some things in our group that made me laugh and made other people laugh, because I had a really crappy day yesterday and I so needed this today. and it just brought me back to, I had a horrific experience a number of years ago after I was raped. And in the emergency room, I was able to find a way to laugh, and it totally changed things around for me. It made me know that ultimately I was going to be okay. So thank you for helping me laugh again today.
Thank you, Renee. You bring up a really important point, which is sometimes laughter can be curative and can give us some hope. And for you, that just brief moment of respite from managing that overwhelm sounds like it gave you what you needed so that you could keep thinking that tomorrow would be better. It's interesting. I didn't plan on mentioning this today, but I too had a similar experience, not with the story leading up to my emergency room visit, but I too had an unexpected trauma and was in the emergency room and found myself cracking jokes until I felt safe enough to really have that other type of catharsis, which was tears. And then once I had the tears, the catharsis in that way, then I could also again start to feel joy. So I used humor as the beginning and the end of my healing process. Thank you so much.
There's a lot of comments now about humor being curative and an opening pathway.
Yes, thank you, Laura. The pathway, and Liza as a cancer thriver. Yes, yes. So we know that humor and laughter and belly laughs are fun. And what I'd like to give you a couple of tidbits of knowledge are why it can be so curative. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for just a brief moment here and show you about the neurological benefits that humor brings to us. And then we're going to circle back to why that led us to feeling so fun and full of that wellness that maybe all of us used. And I want to hear some more of your experiences, but it just seems like now is a great time to bring these points up. So our body and our brains experience lots of different neurochemistry throughout the day, but when we laugh, we experience dopamine. And does anyone else just wish they had more dopamine in their system? Dopamine is that neurotransmitter that makes us feel like joy, love, happy. Yes, friends. And believe it or not, dopamine also is what helps our body and brain remember things more, because when we have fun and pleasure, we're like, yeah. So part of that creative engagement piece that I wanted to spark today was you're going to remember that 10 minutes with this people, and your body's going to go back to that place where you felt better. And we just saw that happen for Renee. We saw her go back to that space where humor healed for her. She remembered it, and it helped her go there once again and start that healing process one more time today. So dopamine is about joy and fun. It's also about cherishing and reminding ourselves about the moments that we want to keep. We also, in our body and brain, get a beautiful dose of serotonin when we laugh. And friends, serotonin's my spirit animal, okay? I am someone who lives with depression and anxiety. So I know that my serotonin is low when I'm walking around mopey. I got to be honest, this morning I was having a mopey moment. I was totally Eeyore because I was feeling extra stressed. I was nervous, and I knew that luckily I got to smile and laugh. So I was going to let my body take care of itself. So serotonin is important. But here's the thing about serotonin. We can get it lots of different ways, but when we laugh together, we get even more serotonin, and we also get more energy, endorphins. So if you're moping around feeling low on energy, how many of you are good at being creative and really are accepting of feedback and open and flexible when you don't have energy? Very few of us are like, yeah, I suppose. All right, I'm good. No. So when we laugh, we get energy, we get happiness, and we get oxytocin. Since it rhymes with caffeine, then yes, I'll have more of it. So, yes. So here's what I'm saying, friends. Oxytocin, many people associate it with babies and mommies and that bonding energy. I call it the trust hormone. Harvard Business Review says that you're 30 times more likely to laugh in a group. And the beautiful thing about oxytocin is that oxytocin begets oxytocin. So if you're in a group where someone else is laughing, thank you very much, Beth, for laughing with me earlier, because I knew that that was going to give me the trust, not only in my wings and in my CPSI team, but also in myself. And so, especially in the last year, if we want to get creative, we want to engage other people, we have to unmute our mics and we got to laugh together. And that gives our body the serotonin, the endorphins, the oxytocin, the dopamine. Yes, friends. And it takes our cortisol down a notch, friends. Who wants to get all cortisol, except for the good kind when we're, stressed in a good way? Let's get cortisol out of the room. Push it out. Get out of here. It's like a gnat. Get that. Ugh. All right. So for those of you that just got that cortisol out, you just moved your body. You just got a little ridiculous energy. Maybe you smiled. And even if you didn't, even if you were like, I'm not doing that, you're welcome. You still got some. Because you just experienced wit and your brain fed off my brain. So happy Father's Day to all of you that celebrated it yesterday. That was your present. It's a little late, I'm sorry. But Amazon Prime was running late. So tell me some more about how that informs how y'all felt in your group. I want to hear a little bit more about your group dynamics. And yes, comedy cures. What an amazing source of mental health and using humor and laughter for wellness. Group laughter is contagious. Yes, absolutely. And yes, Beth, these are the best drugs, the ones that come from our inside. Am I high on life? No, I'm high on humor. It was free. Buy one, get one free. Tell me more. How did that group feel? What does this make you think about in terms of, how you can use humor to get going with creative engagement? Martina, I hear you with your uncontrollable cackle. Would you be willing to talk a little bit more about the slow warm up and what you're thinking about?
I just realized I'm speaking for the group and I probably shouldn't do that. Maybe for myself, I started out like slow, like I wasn't really sure what I wanted to share. It's still Monday morning. And then we had, someone just go like start and then all of a sudden everybody else like had, oh yeah, and this and that and this. And so like it, so it was really nice that it kind of snowballed.
Yeah, so you're kind of describing the oxytocin effect right there. So everyone feels a little nervous, like, is humor a performance, or am I going to be a little too vulnerable with sharing a joke, or just slow to warm up? Maybe we haven't had all of our coffee yet, or maybe we're joining in a different part of the world, and so we're not sure what time it is. And then somebody took a risk, somebody went for it, and wow, that oxytocin started to help everyone else kind of feel safer. That creativity, that vulnerability came out. Yeah. What else? Slow to start up and then tons of stories. Beautiful. All right. So with humor, when we start to think about humor and laughter, they're, believe it or not, two different things that are related, but could be separate. So there's such a thing called laughter yoga. Anyone a laughter yoga friend? Yeah, Kathy, what's up? Yeah, Christy, yes. Okay, so if you have ever done laughter yoga, there are some understandings that laughter yoga is an exercise. It helps your body create laughter even without the humorous initiation. And so what we're going to do, just for the sake of giving our body all the goodness that we just talked about, is we're going to unmute our microphones. Everyone gets to unmute. I know, this is like 60 chaos, let's do it. Unmute your microphone.
Anything can happen.
I know, here we go. It's gonna be crazy, let's do this. And I'm gonna set my clock for 30 seconds and we are going to fake laugh and just fake laugh for 30 seconds and we're gonna see how we feel, all right? On your marks, get set, go. We've done it. Oh my goodness.
Okay,
Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Phew. That was so ridiculous. Okay. I want to invite everyone to just take a moment and check in with your body. Go ahead and when you're ready, type in the chat box. What did your body tell you? How are you feeling? Mhm. Yeah. So there's some new oxygen in your body. Your brain got some really great neurotransmitters, some oxygen throughout your body. Everyone who is typing in there has some kind of way of describing a decrease of pressure, stress, feeling more in tune. So I'd like to invite you all to think about that. And we're going to invite you back into your breakout rooms with your friends. And I want you to talk about, why do you feel like this could be helpful to invite people to think creatively and to use creative problem solving, to brainstorm, to collaborate? Just want to invite you to, as a group, use the power of what we just did and discuss it. So we'll invite you into that room for, I'm hearing you loud and clear. We said 10 minutes for this next one, but if we can adjust it, Beth, can you adjust it to 12 minutes? You ask and I can make it happen. Make it happen. Thank you, Beth. So go ahead into your breakout rooms when they open up and talk about how can you use this to help people think about creative engagement.
Have fun in your breakout rooms.
All right, I think we're coming back.
We here.
All right, so now you get to play just a quick game of Where's Waldo? Find all your friends. Okay, you won. Okay, welcome back. So I would love to hear some thoughts that you discussed. How do you feel like you might be able to use humor or laughter to help get people sparked thinking about creative energy? If you're willing to speak, you're welcome to either put share in the chat box or just to flag us down. Like somebody who's selling corn out of the back of a truck in the summer. Whichever you'd like. You can tell I'm from Nebraska.
So I'll share. And
Thank you.
we talked about a number of things in our group, and I brought up a situation where we had a lot of data that we plowed through, and then we had to create personas. And so instead of doing the typical persona, I had them create satires of the consumer, and to such an extent that they could potentially be fired. And then they had to present them afterwards. So they had a short amount of time to do this, and then coming back to the room, they had to present it or act it out, and everybody was rolling on the floor.
That is amazing. So what a great way to think about the extremes, get people out of their comfort zone. What did your group, how did they feel after doing that?
Oh, they were very, very relieved. And they used some of the elements in the actual personas that they did, because as you mentioned, Mallory, it pushed them out. And so things that they would have overlooked became part of the persona, an important part of the persona or the narrative that they were writing. And so everybody was a little bit lighter they got into it. They were inspired.
Yes, they took their critic brain and put it away, and they let their clown brain take them everywhere, because then they could filter it down once they were open to the ideas. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Great example. Deb, you went to a clown curious workshop. Wonderful. Do you mind sharing about it?
Oh, sure. It was at CPSI 2 years ago. And what I was talking about in my group was, not only was it hilarious and joyful, but it was great because every time something funny happened, she would stop the action. Her name was Barbara, and she would say, "What made that funny? What made that funny?" And we would break it down, and it was a great way to understand forced connection and why people find humor, how people find humor. So I think for some of the more intellectual audiences that we face as facilitators, who are all like going to be silly for no reason, it's a way to explain to them why humor matters. It's like, it's a forced connection illustration, of course, and also you should just lighten up. But besides that, right?
Love it, and love the nose, and I love Beth has a nose on too. And
Beth has everything in that office, everything.
Mine is behind my camera and I can't move it, but I would have gotten mine too. So instead I'll put on a mustache. That's my other way of decorating. There we go. Wonderful. So here, oh, and great hat also, find a filter. So I have a curiosity for you. Anyone feel any fears when it comes to adding humor into your engagement processes? What fears come when you start to think about it? Krista?
So we were talking about in my group, which I learned so much in that 12 minutes. But I would say that the fear of offending somebody, or the fear of, for me, I'm in Buffalo, and a lot of our my employees that I'm presenting to are from multiple cultures. They're from all over the world. So I don't even know sometimes culturally what references people would get. If it's a lot of Western culture references and I'm using humor, I don't know if they get them, and I certainly don't want to offend anybody.
Great points, and really important points to continue, which is one of the reasons why laughter by itself can be beneficial because laughter is a language that connects us all, as opposed to just humor through jokes. So there are several recommendations to try and avoid sarcasm, puns. Language puns typically are things we want to avoid when we're working with international audiences or even communities that we don't live and are a part of. If you're a visitor, we're not going to make a joke about our audience. We also want to think about, is there a butt of the joke? Is there someone that ends up being hurt by the joke? If so, it's not a joke that lifts everyone up. And what Deb was talking about in the clown workshop is you're going to want to look for things that people share together so that you're using a shared culture. It's creating the humor together. So maybe, for instance, there is a line in the carpet that everyone trips over. Then that's what we find humor in, that's a shared experience. And so you're right in thinking, how can I do this? It's by doing it intentionally. So thank you so much, Krista, for bringing that up. Any other fears? How do you bring out the introverts? Oh, great question. So one way that I think about humor and laughter is it doesn't always have to be on the outside. Wit is about letting people figure out the humor. Sometimes this comes in the form of comic strips. Sometimes this comes in the form of fill in the blank stories. Sometimes this comes in the form of creativity that doesn't look like humor, but is playfulness. Colored pencils, stretchy balls. My favorite metaphor that Beth Scales taught me, slinkies, thinking about the way we think. Are we thinking in a way that brings things together or pulls things apart? So invite yourself to think about humor and laughter beyond just comedy and more about playfulness, silliness, and inviting someone to take the judgment away and be present. I hope that's helpful. So what are some things that you want to do from here? We've talked about fears, but what about the go from heres? Where do you want to go from here with humor? What's something that you think you'd be willing to give a go or try or see if it happens? And by the way, Kelsey, guffaw is my second favorite laughter. So I applaud your guffaw. So what do you think? How does this get you curious about where you want to go? Yeah, and how will humor be accepted? That's a great question, Judy. One thing I wanted to share that reflects on something Beth Miller and I spoke about earlier, which is authenticity. When you show up and you are your honest self, and you're a silly person and you show yourself through that silliness, then people tend to see you're being true. If you come in and go, hey yo, ching, then people are gonna feel like, wow, this person is fake, and more likely to be less inviting of the humor. Great. So Deb offers some go from here's, maybe purposefully incorporate short video clips or something funny into kickoff sessions. Yes. One thing that I made a deliberate change for integrating humor into my work is when I am out of my office emails say something like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you emailed. While you're waiting, watch this funny clip. And then I put a link to a YouTube video that is funny and silly. And I change it depending on why I'm gone. So if I'm on vacation, I'll find a silly video about going on vacation, and that will be the video. If I am doing a speaking engagement, I'll have a silly speaker video. So that's a way that you can engage people in humor, even without directly interacting. All right, so we have a couple more minutes and then we're gonna head out. So if we can, I would like to invite you all to take a second. And if you have your phone by you, I want you to get out your camera and we're going to take a silly selfie as Ussie. So this is an Ussie because it's with all of Ussie, but we're going to make a silly face. And that way you can remember that part of humor and creative engagement is self-care. So I'm going to count to 3 and we're going to all be silly with our faces. And then we're going to take a picture. Wait, I better turn it around. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay! Thank you all so very much. If you are interested in reaching out to me, my contact information is on the slide, and Beth is going to make sure that you have access to a handout I prepared. It has the information that I shared today, but also pages of jokes, some comics, some resources for you, including the website for the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor. And I invite you all just to take some time to laugh. Thank you so much for playing with me and having coffee with me this morning.
Mallory, thank you so much. All that stuff will be downloaded on Sked. We're so happy to have had you. I hope you're all energized because you got to laugh with Mallory. Now go have an Oreo.
Double stuff.
Double stuff, right? We're a classy group. We knew that. After Mallory and the little lunch break, we're going to have Seeing with New Eyes. Maybe they're funnier eyes now. Maybe they're laughing eyes, just not lying eyes. With Paul Skaggs, and then Create to Educate. How might student book writing reimagine learning? Pshum, pshum, pshum. And then we still have 3 more days of SIPSI. Not done yet. But until then, laugh out loud. Because it's good for your drug use. Like the good drugs. Like the dopamine.
Gonna be dope. I mean.
Thank you all. You made this awesome.